All right, we are live. Like they can see us. All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the local Vape live stream. I'm Vandal, and today we have an awesome guest, Ruby Roo.
What's up? Hi.
And so we're gonna start off with a little bit about Ruby and what got her into vaping, and then hit some current events, and then also take some questions from the chat. So, anyways, Ruby, how are you doing today?
Oh man, I think I'm doing about as well as I can be lately with all the stuff that's been going on. But yeah, doing good today. I'm feeling more positive, and it's really fun being here. Once again, thanks for having me on the show. This is fun.
Thank you for coming on, especially with your stance on the industry and stuff. It'll be a great message to send to everyone that has questions of what's going on, especially from somebody that's in it themselves. So, just to get into it, what got you started into vaping? Where did you start?
Let's see. I started vaping. Oh, geez. What seems like about 1,000 years ago, maybe like I think I just did 6 years. Is that right? It's 2000. Yeah, because I started in 2013. So I've been vaping for over just 6 years now. And yeah, I was a smoker forever. I smoked for like 17 years and found vaping via one of my bandmates at the time. We were at a show and he had like this little e-cig guy. It's like one of those little disposable gas station ones. And I was like, does that work? Does that help you? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I smoke a lot less. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So then it kind of like piqued my interest. And so I started doing as much research at the time as I possibly could, found like the electronic cigarette forum, like started learning more about different like reviewers. I started watching like a bunch of reviewers on YouTube, and I was reading like written reviews on ECF, like trying to find out like what to buy as like my first starter kit. And I really wanted my first e-cig to be like it to look like a cigarette. Like that was super important to me. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of how it all started.
Which is pretty cool because, especially if you guys have been around for a while like that, you notice that those were the first ones that was very common to everyone, because like gas station ones and stuff like that you saw all the time, and you were like vape shops and stuff weren't so prevalent back in.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool to get into. And then if you guys don't know, Ruby also has her own juice lines, which is the Ruby Crew and the Lanco Vapors, with a lot of different flavors on those. I have a question for you though on that. I see some like Australian flavor influences with that. So if you wouldn't mind explaining a little bit about how that influences.
Oh yeah, for sure. So we started Lanco Vapor 5 years ago. I can never remember like when I started things. It seems like a long time ago. But yeah, we started Lanco Vapor. Basically, I wanted to make flavors that weren't really prevalent on the market. And so I was like, well, we could do like an Australian flavor inspired e-liquid line. I really, really wanted to do that. So I got together with Gaslight Vapor. They're out of Tennessee. And Jeffrey and I have known each other in the industry for quite a long time. And so he basically, him and alongside with Music City Vape Sauce, they helped us like develop these flavors. And so we have and they're all based on kind of traditional Australian like desserts and like candy and things like that I grew up with when as a kid. I'm half Australian, so I basically grew up with a lot of these flavors. So we developed a pavlova flavor, which is like a traditional, well, technically it's a New Zealand dessert, but then Australians appropriated it. So I got in trouble for saying that when we first launched the line. I got in trouble for saying it was a traditional Australian dessert, and then all these like New Zealanders are like, it's ours. Sorry. And then yeah, we developed and that's Nola. And then we developed Mai, which is it's basically a black currant fruit candy, like a gummy.
That
I
one.
love gummy flavors. And then we've got Alice, which is a traditional, it's based on an Anzac biscuit, which is basically a coconut cookie flavor. I'm not trying to remember all of the flavors that we have. And all of the flavors too are named after like women in my family, like Australian women in my family. We've got Helen, which is our top seller. Helen is a raspberry red vine flavor. It's based off of like traditional like Australian licorice flavors. And I think I'm missing one. Oh yeah, Samantha is a lemonade. It's basically a passion fruit lemonade flavor. Yeah, and that's just like some stuff that I grew up with. Like me and my grandfather would make passion fruit lemonade when I was little. So just went ahead with that one. Samantha is also named after my cousin.
That's awesome to hear. Thank you for sharing the story. Which kind of brings us to the next point. You're talking about being influenced by females in your life. You have a show with a couple of other people that are pretty influential in the industry called That's What She Said. So
yeah, that's right. A couple of them are in the chat right now. Hi, ladies. So that's what she said. Yeah, so it's a live stream that we do on Thursday nights. We're kind of like the late night show. We go on at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time because some of us live here. It's 10 p.m. East Coast. But yeah, we started the show earlier this summer. We just did our 21st episode last night, and it's awesome. There's 5 of us, so it's myself, and then we've got Angela Garrity. She writes for Vape Magazine. She's been in the vape scene for a really long time. Jess Marie, Double Helix Designs. She's one of the panelists. Michelle and Duldime Mods. And then we've also got Danielle Jones. She's on the board of directors of CASA, and she works for Cotton Bacon, and she also writes for Vape Magazine. So it kind of started as like I really wanted to get into streaming, but I didn't exactly know how it would all look, basically. And so Angela approached me and she's like, hey, our friend Dan has this idea for like an all ladies vape show, like a live streaming vape show. And she's like, what do you think? Like, do you want to do this and put it on your channel? And I was like, this is a good idea. Yes, I do. I do want to do that. So yeah, we approached a couple of other friends, and now we have a show called That's What She Said, and it's an all-female vaping live streaming show. And we also talk about a lot. We talk about a lot of advocacy stuff, especially recently. We talk about some products and some. When we get new stuff in, we like to talk about like what we're vaping on and all that stuff. And then we like to play a lot of games and have fun with the show as well. And we usually do that at the end. So like last night we did an Alien Area 51 trivia game because today was like the Storm the Area 51 thing. So we thought it would be fun to do that. And James, he's on the Omis, and he also has Frames Janklin. His channel is really cool. He was our quiz master last night, and it went really well.
So, especially with the group you guys got, with everyone from like Michelle doing the mods on the boxes that she does, and then Jess Marie doing the tips, and then you guys got other people with all aspects of the industry. So if you guys haven't checked it out yet, make sure you guys do check that channel out when they do that. And then so, with that being said, you guys said you got into a little bit of advocacy stuff, and I think that's what a lot of people are here for. So with all this going on today, there's nowhere that you can start easily with any of this. So
exactly. It's kind of it's coming at us from like all sides right now, and it's like like I feel like I'm going crazy, with all of these different like proposed flavor bans on the federal level, all the stuff that's going on in different states. There's still some like tax issues that are going on too. All these governors just kind of doing whatever the hell they want without a proper legislative process. They're just like, I declare that vaping is bad, and I'm going to ban flavors to save the children.
At a straight dictator level, it seems like, especially with like New York and Michigan and all that stuff. So.
Yep.
With your opinion on that, obviously neither of us are lawyers, but how do you feel like that should play out to the industry, especially like from our experience, from how they're just instantly stopping it without actually taking a vote on the people?
Yeah, I think it depends how much, like based on like the constitution of that particular state, how much power a governor can have and like what exactly they can accomplish via an executive order. So that's why in Michigan, they're actually, I can't remember his name right now, but there's a legislator over there who's like holding her accountable and was like, you can't do this. You do not have the power to do this. And so they're actually working legislatively to see, you know, if she has oversight over this or not. I don't know exactly what's going to happen in the state of New York with Cuomo's stuff. But yeah, I really hope that people keep these legislators in check, these governors in check, because right now they're just kind of doing whatever they feel like. At least the governor in California is like, he doesn't want to use an executive order. He's like, because I'm pretty sure I can't. So I think, so they've got a task force going on right now, and they are going to probably take the legislative route, which is surprising. Wow, California. I mean, I don't think any of this should be like going through anything, but at least they're not like throwing down the ban hammer like immediately. Yeah. Stuff going on in New Jersey is absolutely crazy too, because that's not even going to be a flavor ban. They're actually talking about banning vaping outright in the state of New Jersey. All of it.
All this. And if you guys haven't seen any of the posts, there's going around, your voice needs to be heard with these guys. It's easy as a simple phone call. And you can find it on most of our pages on social media that you guys can reach out and give a call, because they, in New Jersey, if you guys haven't been paying attention, created a task force to go out and enforce this at these shops if it passes or it goes through and all this stuff, kind of like a SWAT team would go raid a house. And
yeah,
it's dangerous out there for you guys to use something that's helping you stop smoking. So definitely need to get out there, make your voices heard. With stuff like that, though, what would you feel would be, besides, you know, doing the calls and stuff like that, what other advice would you give personally to someone that is trying to make a difference and make their voice heard outside of social media and more of a direct level?
Yeah, I think outside of social media, it's really important to, if you're just having a conversation with like your parents or like a friend, and maybe they don't vape, or maybe uh, a coworker or something like that, having conversations with people and setting them straight about what's going on, because the media right now is still blaming vaping for all of these different lung illnesses. And a lot of people think that vaping is just as bad as smoking and all that stuff. So I think educating people outside of the vaping community is really, really important. And then they might just be like, oh, I didn't know that. Like, are you serious? Like, I had a conversation with my landlord the other day because she was like over doing something with the house. And she was like, so what's going on with all of these lung illnesses and vaping you guys do? And I was like, okay, like just like setting her straight in a way that's like educational and informative, I think is a really positive thing. So it's kind of like preaching the good word out there and like setting people straight with all of the misinformation that's being touted by the media. It's those conversations are so important.
It's going to feel like a losing battle at first, guys, because media is easy for everyone to see. Most people watch news at night and stuff like that. There's just about every house would have a TV in their home that's being fed this stuff. And that's why, like Ruby just said, it's personal. It's a point that you need to make to do a personal connection with these people that don't know, because they're just being fed this stuff. And I personally, like, I Uber to work every day, and they're always like, you know, small talk. Oh, you go to work? What do you do? And I'm like, oh, I work for a vape distributor. Oh, vaping. Like, oh my God, you know, this is dangerous. And then you got to explain to them the differences, and then they'll be like, you know, you'll bring up to the light, it's the THC cartridges and the vitamin E stuff, and it's not actually e-cigs themselves. It's what people are using. So it's make sure you guys tell everyone, like, you know, disseminate the definition between the two.
Yeah, exactly. Raven Shadow Vapes in chat has a really good point. They said, get out and talk to shop owners and employees. Many have no idea what's happening. That is so true. I was talking with Turk yesterday, and he said that, I'm actually not sure if I was talking with Turk or Chloe, because sometimes they like switch around. But I think I was talking with Chloe, and she said that Turk went into a bunch of shops, and like half of the shops that he went into yesterday had no idea what was going on. They had no idea that the New Jersey stuff is going on. The federal proposed flavor ban coming down from the FDA is going on. They knew none of it. So yeah, if you have a local shop oh my gosh, like go first off, go into your local shop and tell them what's going on, and then buy something. Because like you gotta support shop owners right now. Anybody that you know who has a business like within the industry, the easiest thing that you can do to show support for the shops and business owners that are trying so hard to fight for everybody is to just buy a bottle of e-liquid, you know. Pick up some coils or something like that. It really helps everybody out, and I think it's a fair show of solidarity.
Especially with the brick and mortars, because if, like you said,
Yeah.
they don't have any clue what's going on, and then when they have to shut down, they either like have to destroy the product for the most part is what I'm seeing with all this stuff, which means that even if the ban were to be lifted after the certain amount of time, they're going to have nothing to sell on top of wasted product they had to get rid of or destroy. And
Yeah, exactly.
and as if you go in there and you buy some juice or buy some coils, it's not like you're losing money because you're actually going to use it in the future, and then you're also helping support them because that could be helpful for the time that they have to go through the ban, or they have to sit there, and their employees, you know, their kids they got to feed and their families. So
Exactly. These shops, like in Michigan and in New York, I believe as well, are going to have like 14 days to clear their shelves and then done. Like, bye bye e-liquid. They can clear their shelves of everything except for tobacco, right? And then in New York, they're actually trying to get menthol off the table as well.
yeah, and it's insane. And this is my personal opinion with that is the reason why they like to keep tobacco on the shelves. And if any of you do enjoy it, that's cool. But for me personally, if I ever vape a tobacco flavor, it makes me want a cigarette more because tobacco flavor is not that great. And so it's kind of like my tinfoil hat's on right now, a push to get you to go back to smoking cigarettes because these big states are losing money on the tobacco settlement money, and trying to push people back towards it. And like Kumo said, like, so what? It's safer. So it's not even a public health issue, too. So when you talk to people, you explain that. And then there's tons of graphics floating around social media you could share with your friends and family to show them like what the breakdown is of how much money they're actually losing compared to saving people's lives and their health.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the states are cash strapped states, especially the ones who are like gung ho with all of these flavor bans because they're losing out on their MSA money, and they're also losing out on their tobacco tax revenue just from just their tobacco tax. Like when you buy a pack of cigarettes, that state gets a part of that tobacco tax, and then because people aren't buying as many cigarettes, the states figure they need to get their tax revenue from somewhere, and it doesn't make any sense because they would actually, if they put a reasonable tax on like a vapor product, let's say it was, you know, like a 5% tax. So, you know, the same way that like in legal states, cannabis is taxed, like you have a sin tax essentially. And then you appropriate that money to go to, you know, tobacco, like smoking, anti-smoking campaigns or whatever, however the state ends up spending it. But it doesn't, it's like they're shooting themselves in the foot. Like they're taking fewer products out that they could instead have the opportunity to have put a tiny reasonable tax on it. Like that, they're nope, got to save the children, shooting themselves in the foot. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's insane, especially with this children argument. Of course, we're not telling anyone to start vaping if you don't smoke. And of course, children are the people that we definitely don't want to be a part of this industry. But they're using that as an argument because it was so easy before the tobacco industry when they were actually doing bad things and marketing the people. So it's more about familiarization of people. So they think about the old tobacco days, they lump us in there. And you've also got to explain to people that we're not big tobacco. Even the biggest companies in this industry don't have the kind of money that they could have to influence things like that. So it's going to be a rough fight for us for sure to actually combat all this, but it's up to each and every one of us to make sure we spread this message.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody needs to be an advocate right now. Everybody. Like if you're sitting there just being like, "Well, I'll be fine. I'm just going to DIY," and you're not calling your federal and state legislators, and you're not calling the White House, and you're not having conversations with people about how vaping is important to you. What are you doing? Like just sitting there with your thumb up your butt. Like you have to advocate, at least if not for anybody, advocate at least for yourself. God. And beyond that, I would think at the end of the day, I want these products available to people who are smoking right now, and I want them to have an alternative for in the future when they do decide to quit or make the transition into vapor products.
It's about the option of having the freedom to choose, and that's the
Yeah.
biggest. I think that's going against like the ideals of like our Constitution being in the United States of considered a free place, but we're not actually free to choose these things. And even if, like Ruby said, if you're not doing it for everyone else, do it for you, but also to set a precedence that these government officials can't just steamroll over everyone, and
Yeah.
as next, what could it be? Like your choice of sodas or something like that. You never know where it's going to stop once they actually have it going on. So it's more than just the vape community. It's an issue of humanity to make sure.
It is. It is. And it's not just a U.S. issue anymore. It's coming. It's going beyond that. Okay, like if you guys haven't watched A Billion Lives recently, I highly recommend watching it again. It'll inspire you. But yeah, this is a global issue, and it's. I think what's happening too in the U.S. It's like a freedom issue, and it's like our freedoms are being stripped away from us, and it's all this like in the guise of the government saying we're protecting the children. I'm like, no, you're not. You're protecting your wallet.
Definitely about protecting profits. It was about children. Alcohol related things to teens is like triple almost anything else in the United States, with either kids getting drunk or going and driving DUIs, getting hurt in car accidents, or obtaining these things. And then you can walk into any gas station, grocery store, and liquor is right there. It's not even behind a door unless it's in a fridge, and it's not protected by anything. It's like if
Yeah,
any,
it's just right there.
yeah, it's easy to grab. And if you were a youth at one point in this country, you know what a beer run is, where you would run in, grab a case of beer, and run out. And it's easy as that. When you can go into a vape shop and you have to get carded at the door, or if you go online, you have to use your credit card that has an ID and things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a demonization of the industry, but that's why we need to make sure we're spreading the information far and wide, because it's very double standard.
Yeah, exactly. It's an uphill battle, I will tell you that. It's an uphill battle, but you've got to do it. If you're sitting there not doing anything and just being like, well, I'll be fine, I'll DIY, I'll be fine, I'm like, you are the problem right now. Come on, man. Come on.
And that feeds into like another point I want to put out there too, is like with other people going against other people in the industry because they don't feel like they advocate enough or post enough stuff. If we are divided in our fight against this, we're going to be divided and they're going to easily break us down. So we need to support each other, guys, to make sure that we're like, you may see like an influencer or something, only post one or two things or something, but it's not up to us to go through and tell them what they need to do. We need to, instead of spread a message of negativity between us, spread the positive message out to the people that need to hear it.
Yeah, exactly. There's always infighting when this kind of thing happens. It happens a lot. Like, what's the best way for someone to advocate? Like, oh, or you can only advocate for vaping this particular way, and then like, oh, well, that person's not posting a lot, or they're not doing that, or they're not doing that. It's like, got to remember, you guys, there's a lot of stuff that's going on behind the scenes that you might not see. Just because I'm not making 20 posts a day on my Instagram account about advocacy stuff. I mean, I post a lot about advocacy stuff on Instagram, but I'm also I've been over on Twitter quite a bit, and then there's tons of stuff going on behind the scenes that I can't really talk about and or don't talk about because I'm like, look at me go. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's going on behind the scenes that you might not see. So keep that in mind when you're gonna like bash an influencer or bash somebody. There might be a lot going on, and you might not fully see it on Instagram.
Yep, and that's only one aspect of the world of it. So you guys got to be respectful to each other with stuff like this, because if
Yeah.
you someone, you can lose somebody else that's going to fight for you just by seeing the negativity. And then guys in the chat, we got a pretty good turnout. I appreciate you guys coming through. If you guys want to start typing in some questions you would have for Ruby, and then we can get into those for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Chat, what you got? What you got? We're here. It's Friday.
What are you vaping on today, if you're vaping this morning?
Sure. I am vaping. I've got this Monarch here. This is my Monarch. Josh and I, we make handmade mods. Our company is Aspen Modco, and this is the Monarch mod. It's a dual parallel 2700 mech. On the top, I've got Turk This is, Turkey 2. And then I've got Turkish cake also. Yummy. Very, very good. And then on top here, I've got a drip tip from, whoops, like my screen is mirrored. I'm like, which way? Got a tip here from Double Helix Designs, one of the chop tops that's I really like. By the way, speaking of the Monarch, we do have Monarchs on sale right now on our website, aspenmodco.com. Check them out if you're interested, even if you just want to oogle the pretty mods.
They're they're pretty looking mods. I saw you post one the other day. It was like a red and black one with had like depth to it, and I was just like, man, like,
yeah, you're like, ooh. Yes. Oh God. My fellow panelists are asked. Danielle asked, how much watts? Thank you, Danielle. Great question. Michelle asked, who's your favorite panelist? And that's what she said. I'm not going to answer that question.
On that one. So then, with that, we're not getting too many questions, it looks like. Guys, throw them at us. This is your chance to get the Ruby one-on-one. Get the opinion of someone that's been around and that actually does both sides of it, whether it's juice, hardware, and advocating.
Yeah, kind of do all of it. Social media, YouTube, streaming, own a couple vape companies. I don't know. I'll just start adding more and more stuff. Why not? Sure. Throw it on.
Obi-Wan Kenobi asked why you didn't just like Twisted Messes can't believe cheesecake was a pie.
So why didn't you guys just let Kent believe that cheesecake is a pie? Because it's not a pie. It's not a pie. Cheesecake is cake because we say so. And it's in the name. It's in the name. Okay, so if you guys have no idea what we're talking about, Kent was on Nick and my's podcast, Culture of Clouds podcast. Check it out if you're interested. And he was on the podcast, and so we always ask all of our podcast guests, and we ask this on the That's What She Said show a lot too. Are you a cake person or a pie person? Like, do you prefer cake or pie? And I'm a cake person, and so is Nick. But then we were like, okay, and remember, cheesecake is cake. And Kent got really mad, like upset. He was so mad. He's like, no, it's not. Cheesecake is definitely a blah, blah, blah. Like, he got really mad. I was like, okay, if you want to think it's pie, oh my God, I'm glad I'm not sitting next to you right now.
Anyway. It has a pie crust. I guess that's subjective to what you consider a pie crust.
Yeah. Is a graham cracker crust a pie crust? And then a lot of people say, okay, now it gets deeper. They're like, cheesecake isn't cake, it's a tart. Oh, and I'm like, what? I'm like, it's freaking cake. Shh, it's cake. Quiet. Good question. Only one.
We've got a question from Raven Shadow. She says, are you looking to develop any new flavors for your liquid line?
Not new ones, because, okay, we're kind of not allowed to do that. But I've been thinking of a way to take my top flavors. I might do this. I'm not sure if we're going to do this or not. And I know a lot of other companies are doing this. They kind of take their like more popular flavors and then just rebrand them. So you're allowed to do that via the new rules. But we'll see. Like, I guess it's not like a super priority of mine right now because of what's going on advocacy wise. Like, and if they're just gonna ban all the flavors anyway, I guess to answer your question, how about a tobacco flavor? Like, just one flavor, just tobacco. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen with the future of my e-liquid line. Lanco Vapor, plus we've got the Ruby Crew stuff too. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely a rough time. So a lot of people probably aren't looking too much forward to developing new stuff. But like Ruby said earlier, just so you guys know, for the FDA rules, you are only allowed to create things that you submitted to them legally before the time frame. So if you see a lot of these companies not making new stuff, if they didn't have these flavors and the stuff submitted to the FDA, legally they can't make it. So that's why it's a little rough too. That's why you see a lot of people just rebranding stuff like that too. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot to it. And if any of you guys have questions on it, you can feel free to message the local vape page and I can send you links to that info.
Yep.
Angela Garrity asked, can we send some of the aliens from over here? We haven't seen any yet, but if you guys saw that, we were actually talking about this before the stream, the clip for the Area 51 raid, and there was doing a news interview, and there was a kid in Naruto running across the back.
So
Picked up on some kind of Nike sponsorship. I don't know what they're doing.
that was so funny. Oh yeah, I bet if you guys got on the roof of like one of your warehouses, you might be able to see the aliens. Yeah.
Binoculars for that one.
Yeah, maybe.
Spork Life in the chat also asked, what's your take on pharma donating big money to campaign for tobacco-free kids?
Oh yeah, well, big pharma likes to donate to a lot of anti-tobacco, anti-vaping groups. That's like their hobby, I think, is to donate money. So yeah, I think it sucks. That's campaign for tobacco-free kids isn't. They don't like to use science and logic behind pretty much any of their messaging. So yeah, I guess it makes sense that pharma would do that. But yeah, like I said, it's kind of like big pharma's hobby to donate to all these different groups. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and especially if you guys have noticed the like graphics going around with how this tobacco settlement goes out, the money for that's actually being paid for by these tobacco sales and stuff like that. And this is my personal tinfoil hat opinion, is it's kind of like a money laundering scheme because they donate millions and millions and millions, and then you see like a TV commercial or an ad on Tumblr or Twitter, and that's about it. And they don't do too much. Yep. So it's a money thing, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Especially when like these big corporations donate to these things, they get to write it off on their taxes. So it's like they're not really losing much when they do that.
Yeah, that's right. Angela says, I'm making a Naruto run to LCD now. On my way. Oh, man. Can we get Ruby's juice at Local Vape? Yes, you can.
You can. We have the whole line from the Ruby Crew side and the Lanco side. And also, if you guys see on the bottom of this video, YouTube 20, you can save 20% on that too. So you get a little bit of a discount and you get some great products.
Heck yeah. Yeah. Local Vape, you guys have carried my stuff like for a long time. And if you're a shop owner, they do my distro too. So you
can check
self-serving advertising. What's up?
Raven Shadow has another question. I think it's a good one. Do you think that Big Pharma is going to try and get nicotine made to be a prescribed only kind of thing?
Well, they did that. Big Pharma tried to do that, or FDA basically tried to do that back in 2009. They were trying to get nicotine products or like vapor products being categorized not as tobacco, but as a pharmaceutical product. And then FDA was sued actually by Enjoy. And I'm not sure, I don't remember if there were any other industry partners who were a part of that lawsuit, but I know Enjoy was the big one, and they actually won that lawsuit. And then of course we saw later that vapor products were categorized by FDA as tobacco products, and then Obama gave FDA oversight over tobacco products, so that's how we got into this mess. But I don't think that they're going to go backwards and say it's a pharmaceutical product. I think that they're going to continue on this pathway by saying they're all tobacco products. That's my guess anyway.
And especially with industry stuff, if they were to do that, even like big tobacco would have a big problem with that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Profits. That's probably why that would never happen. So that's a silver lining to that argument on that one. Angela Garrity asks, more swag coming from us. We don't have too much t-shirt and stuff going on right now and hats. And I couldn't speak on what the company is going to produce for you guys, as far as products go. But we usually will replenish like anarchist gear and stuff like that. So if that's something you guys are interested in, we usually will have that around on the site. Odyssey, right here, Vapors Odyssey's question is, do you know of any news channels that have talked to vapors and what's going on or not? I can personally answer that. Here locally in Las Vegas, Erica, that owns the Vape and has helped standpoint in the community, actually reached out to the local news channel here herself and an interview with them to do it. And they recorded a good amount of time, she said. And then if you watched it, which we posted on our page, they only give her about a 30-second clip. But personally for you, Ruby, have you noticed any of that?
I have a little bit, especially outside of the hearings, or not the, it depends on what the meeting is for. Like some of them are like city council meetings, some of these are hearings, but you, especially the one that we saw in New York, there were a lot of press there, and they were definitely talking to the vapors who were at the meeting. So I've seen it a little bit here and there, but I haven't been reached out by like a news team, like a local news team. I don't think they know who I am. That's fine. I don't mind. I was approached by the Washington Post last week, and this reporter, instead of using any of my quotes, she just used my photo, and I was like, with like no credit or anything, just a picture of me sitting there with no credit, none of my quotes were used, and I was like, well, this is stupid. Thanks. Yeah. Great work.
And to speak on this subject a little bit more, if any of you guys are in local areas that we can contact your news places, and if you feel like it's a fruitless endeavor, still try to, because like we said, it's the average person that they need to hear from, and the average person outside the industry needs to learn the actual facts behind it. And if they only a small clip, it's at least, you know, you put something out there. And it's good. This is our civil war for vaping right now. We're fighting our fellow citizens, we're fighting our fellow vapors, we're fighting our government. So it takes every little bit of each of us to put in to fight it.
Yeah, exactly. And if you are approached by the media or do have a chance to talk with them, just remember to be polite, as polite as you can be. Everybody feels like yelling and raging right now, and sometimes that also needs to happen. But when it comes to how the public in general perceives vapors, I do think it's important for us to remain on message, especially like on message about like CASA and tobacco harm reduction and how flavors helped you, and about like how the flavor ban will shut down businesses. Like keep it simple and try and remain as non-ragey as possible, even though we all want to rage right now. That's my advice if you do talk to the media.
And that's the biggest approach that we have right now is the humanizing vaping, because it's very demonized right now. It's dehumanized. It's looked at very bad. So they need it from the personal aspect and how you really heartfelt about how it's changed your life. So
yep.
Make sure you guys are doing that.
Yeah, make it personal for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then Michelle asked you about your houseplants.
Oh God. I have a lot of houseplants. I recently got very into plants, and they're I got a new one in the office. Do you guys want to see it? Hold on.
While she's grabbing that real quick, Raven, I don't have access to my phone right now, but I'll check it out after the stream.
I have a new houseplant. Yeah, I'm kind of crazy for plants right now. They help calm me down, and they make my house pretty, and they clean the air. And sometimes I'm like, I just need to be with my plants for a few minutes because life is crazy.
So to speak on that point, just some advice, I guess, if you have any to give, especially with all this going on and how intense it is all the time, especially with being surrounded by it. What would you suggest people do to take some time away from it so they don't get overloaded or fatigued by doing all this advocacy stuff?
Yeah, I think it's really important to remember to take some deep breaths all the time and do something that calms you down. Like for me, it's like doing like plant stuff and like checking everybody's water levels, and like I have outdoor plants as well, and just like being in the garden and like checking on the tomatoes. And I also love cooking. Cooking really kind of helps calm the storm, and so I try to do as much of that as I can. Like I guess it's like self-care kind of. But yeah, that's what I'd recommend. Like people who are out there doing all this advocacy constantly, like take time for yourself and do something, like, whatever hobby you enjoy doing that helps soothe you. Do that thing. Otherwise, you will get burned out on it, and it's better to sustain advocacy rather than just go nuts and then hate life, get really, really frustrated, and then stop advocating.
It's going to
So
make,
it's better to take a little break every once in a while and just calm down.
especially with all this going on, no one's going to be mad at you if you take a night off from doing it, or, you know, the evening off, because it, like Ruby said, self-care is very important with this. And you don't want to push yourself to a point to where you hate doing it, because then it's not going to be helpful in the future. And you're not going to have the positive mindset that you're going to have to use to share to people that might not be so like-minded.
Yeah, exactly. Like staying the course is really important, and it prevents you getting like advocacy burnout. Because like I said, if you get burned out on it, then you're just going to stop doing it, and then that is not what we want people to do. We want people to stay the course. So it's better to take breaks as you need them, and then keep advocating, because we have a very, very long fight ahead of us.
We definitely do. And with every one of you guys that are here, and the people that are going to watch the replay, if you're out there doing it, we want to say thank you, because it's going to take it's going to take all of us, not just a lot of us. It's going to take each and every single one of us to make sure that this is getting put out and spread with the information, whether it's your neighbor, whether it's a family member, whether it's like, you know, a cousin outside of town, someone you talk to. Just make sure you're spreading the positive message and spreading the factual messages. And if anyone has any questions, you can ask any of us for links, because we have links to all this stuff just ready to go, so that you can help it with your argument, whether it's the UK aspect of it, where the whole government actually backing it compared to how it's being played out here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. So I don't think we're getting too much more questions in the chat right here. So then I won't take up too much more of your time today, Ruby. I want to say thank you very much for coming by. Local Vape really appreciate your time.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for having me on the show. It's really nice to be on a live stream and not have to do anything. I could just hang. So it's been fun to hang out with you for sure. And fun to hang out with everybody in the chat too. And thanks for letting me show you my plant.
There's your plant. Thank you for coming by. Otherwise, guys, we're going to call it right here. And then keep up the fight, guys. Take care of yourselves and take some time to yourselves. Make sure that you do that, because it's very important. But at the end of the day, we really appreciate each and every single one of you. Again, Ruby, thank you very much. And we just want to say goodbye, and you guys have a great weekend.